Video. So you've got contradictions, not just related to the resurrection story. For instance, the story of Lazarus, who in the book of John is raised to prove that Christ is who he says he was, and yet in the book of Luke, the same Lazarus first is revealed to be in fact a fictional character because he appears first in a parable, and secondly, when it is asked if Lazarus can be raised, Jesus says no, he shouldn't be, because if they're not going to listen to Abraham and the prophets, then they're not going to be persuaded by that either, and that is just a blatant contradiction. So,
okay, what are your thoughts here, Josh?
I think the Lazarus argument he uses here is just, I don't want to be mean to him, but absolutely horrendous because like Josh is a very, very common name. And if a teacher calls, and there's been multiple times where there's multiple Joshes in my class. Like there's sometimes where a teacher would like tell off the other Josh and start screaming from one end of the class and say, like, Josh, what on earth are you doing? Like if we were to follow his logic about Lazarus, you could very much easily come to the conclusion that, oh, the teacher was telling off me as well as him, but in the fact that he wasn't telling off me was somewhat contradicting his other account of telling off the other student, which is clearly quite a flawed situation. So I think here perhaps another way to illustrate it is just to look at the parable of the hare and the tortoise. I'm not sure if they call them parables or fables, but essentially there's this idea that, well, the idea that these two people have to be the same is not only nowhere stated in the Bible, but it seems to suggest that if you say, well, look at the hare and the tortoise, you could say, well, you could find a similar critique to say, well, maybe, oh, a race between a hare and tortoise would never occur. Furthermore, since my pet hare or my pet rabbit never races my pet tortoise around the garden, well, then it demonstrates that this parable or this fable is completely wrong. But by doing that, you're completely missing the entire point of the story or the fable in the first place. And I think that is exactly what Cosmic Skeptic does here, or should I call him Alex does here in this situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, once again, I'll just say, like, this isn't an issue, at least to me. And again, like, even if, like, say there was a contradiction, how is this an argument against the resurrection? He hasn't explained how this is an argument against the resurrection, just to say, look, this would be just maybe just an argument against inerrancy, if he could even show that this was a contradiction. But I mean, there's possible answers. Like, a lot of people think that, like, the story in Luke is a parable. So if that's the case, there's really one Lazarus and one that's a story of a fictional Lazarus. Maybe there's just two Lazaruses. Like, they're just like, he hasn't done enough work here to show that there's a contradiction. So yeah.